My best friend's life was crumbling, and I thought I could save her until I uncovered a secret that turned everything I knew upside down. Was I the asshole for digging into her past without asking? Lila and I had been friends since we were kids, sharing secrets over Kool-Aid and sneaking out to watch the stars in our small dusty town. She was the kind of person who'd give you her last dollar, even if it meant she'd go hungry. But life hadn't been kind to her. By 25, she was living in a beat-up trailer on the edge of town, barely scraping by on her waitressing job. Last month she called me in tears, saying the bank was foreclosing on her trailer, her only home, because she'd missed too many payments. She had nowhere to go, and the thought of her sleeping on the street gutted me. I couldn't just stand by. I'm no hero, but I've always been good at digging up information. I work as a paralegal, so I know my way around public records, property deeds, and all that boring legal stuff. I figured I could poke around, maybe find a loophole or some government program to help Lila keep her trailer. She didn't ask me to do it, she was too proud to ask for anything, but I told myself it was for her own good. I mean, what kind of friend would I be if I didn't at least try? So I started pulling records. The trailer park's ownership history, Lila's loan documents, anything that might give me a clue. At first it was just a maze of numbers and legalese. The bank owned the loan, the trailer park was on leased land, and Lila was months behind. It looked hopeless. But then I stumbled across something weird. A deed from 20 years ago, tied to the land the trailer park was built on. The name on it? Lila's mom, Deborah. Here's where things get messy. Lila's mom died when we were teenagers, and Lila never talked about her much. All I knew was that Deborah was a single mom who worked odd jobs and struggled with addiction before passing away from an overdose. Lila had always said her mom left her no money, no property, just a box of old photos and a broken heart. So why was Deborah's name on a deed for the trailer park's land? I dug deeper, and that's when I found the twist that still keeps me up at night. The deed wasn't just in Deborah's name, it listed her as the sole owner of the 10-acre plot the trailer park sat on. No co-owners, no liens, nothing. It was worth over $300,000, and according to the county records, it had never been sold or transferred. If this was true, Lila wasn't just a tenant struggling to pay for her trailer, she might actually own the land it was on. My mind was racing. This could change everything. She could sell the land, pay off her debts, and start over. But why didn't she know about this? And how had the trailer park been operating all these years without anyone noticing? I couldn't stop there. I pulled every record I could find, tax filings, probate documents, even old newspaper clippings. That's when I met Carl. Not literally, but his name kept popping up in the records like a ghost. Carl was the trailer park's manager. A greasy guy in his 50s who always wore a stained ball cap and had a reputation for being a cheapskate. Lila had complained about him plenty, how he'd jack up lot fees without notice or forget to fix broken pipes. But the records showed something else. Carl had been signing documents as the landlord for years, collecting rent from tenants like Lila, even though he didn't own the land. Deborah did. And now maybe Lila. My stomach churned. Was Carl scamming everyone? Had he known about Deborah's ownership and kept it quiet after she died? I needed answers, but I also knew confronting Carl would be risky. He wasn't exactly the warm and fuzzy type, and I'd heard rumors he had friends in shady places. Plus, I hadn't told Lila what I was doing. I didn't want to get her hopes up or freak her out until I was sure. So I did something I'm not proud of. I kept digging, this time into Carl's background. That's when I met Maria, the unexpected twist in this whole mess. Maria was a retired clerk from the county recorder's office who'd processed the original deed for the trailer park's land. I tracked her down at a local diner, hoping she'd remember something useful. She was in her 70s, sharp as a tack, and loved to talk. Over coffee, she dropped a bombshell. Deborah hadn't just owned the land, she bought it with cash from a mysterious settlement years before Lila was born. Maria didn't know the details, but she remembered Deborah coming in, nervous but determined, saying she wanted to secure a future for her unborn child. That child was Lila. Maria also remembered Carl. He'd been a handyman back then, always hanging around Deborah, offering to help with paperwork. Maria didn't trust him. He had shifty eyes, she said, stirring her coffee. I told Deborah to watch out, but she was too trusting. Maria's story made my skin crawl. Had Carl been manipulating Deborah from the start? Did he know about the land and wait for her to die so he could take over? I thanked Maria and left, my head spinning with questions. By now I was in too deep to stop. I pulled Carl's financial records, public ones. Nothing illegal, and found he'd been funneling the trailer park's rent money into a personal account for years. Tens of thousands of dollars, maybe more. The puzzle pieces were coming together, but I still didn't have the full picture. I needed to talk to Lila, but I was terrified. What if she didn't believe me? What if she hated me for snooping? I'd crossed a line, digging into her mom's past without her permission. But I couldn't let her lose her home, not when she might own the whole damn park. I invited Lila over for dinner, planning to break the news gently. She showed up looking exhausted, her eyes red from crying. She told me the bank had given her a final notice, 30 days to pay up or get out. I took a deep breath and spilled everything: the deed, her mom, Carl, the land. I showed her the records, the numbers, Maria's story. At first she just stared at me, silent. Then she started shaking. "Why didn't you tell me you were doing this?" she whispered. Her voice wasn't angry, it was hurt. I felt like the worst friend in the world. But then Lila surprised me. She didn't shut down or storm out. She asked to see the deed again, her hands trembling as she traced her mom's name. She wanted me to have something, she said, tears streaming down her face. She tried. For the first time, Lila talked about her mom not as the broken woman she'd known, but as someone who'd fought for her in her own way. It was a gut punch moment, seeing my tough-as-nails friend so vulnerable. We spent the next week working together, hiring a lawyer with my savings to challenge the foreclosure and investigate the land's ownership. The lawyer confirmed what I'd found. The deed was still in Deborah's name, and since she'd died without a will, it likely passed to Lila. Carl, it turned out, had been forging documents for years, pocketing rent while the county overlooked the unclaimed property. The lawyer filed a claim to transfer the land to Lila and sent a cease and desist to Carl. Last I heard, he skipped town, probably knowing the jig was up. Lila kept her trailer, and the land is now legally hers. She's talking about turning the trailer park into a co-op, giving the other tenants a stake in it. It's a long road, but she's got a fire in her now, a purpose I hadn't seen before. But here's where I'm torn. Lila thanked me, said I saved her life, but I can't shake the guilt. I went behind her back, digging into her mom's past, stirring up painful memories. She says she's glad I did, but I wonder if I violated her trust. Was I wrong to play detective without asking? Or was it worth it to save her home and maybe give her a piece of her mom back?